Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is our free monthly play date. And this month is our bonus Spring Fling kind of get ready for Spring Fling. If you haven't registered for Spring Fling, don't know what the heck it is, we will answer all your questions. I have some of the instructors here today to tell you a little bit about their workshops. If they are not here today, I will tell you all about their workshops. Scheduling, when you've got people all over the world, scheduling is quite difficult. And I did see that Marianne had logged in and now she's no longer here. She emailed me earlier and was having internet issues. It's also quite late where she is. She's in Namibia, which is in Africa, and it is, it's late at night there, and she's putting the kids to bed. We got another instructor from Georgia, the country, not the state, and it is definitely the middle of the night there. This is Marianne coming back in. So I'm going to skip ahead and let her talk while she's here. Because last year we did this and she had to drop off before she got to introduce her class. So we'll do that and then we'll go back to the beginning. Marianne, I'm so happy you're here. I was just saying that we missed you last year because you had to drop off and that you were having internet issues today. If you would like to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about the two classes you're doing, we'll go ahead and do that right now because I know it's late at night there and you've got kids to put to bed and things like that to do. So if you would like to jump in and say hi.
Hi, Kelly. Yes, it's late and we've had troubles with internet. I keep coming on and off. So I hope I'll make it through this. Everybody who don't know me, I'm Marianne and I'm from Namibia in Africa, hence the internet problems. By day, I'm a kindergarten teacher, and at night, I dabble in collage making and all sorts of other arty things. So I will be sharing my class story boxes with you for this Spring Fling. And this class is all about using the teeny tiny images you would normally discard from bigger compositions, and I want to give them a little platform to tell their own story. So I will also share some techniques on how I cut out small images, techniques that hasn't brought me any frustration, so that might help you to do that too. And then my second one will be a live Zoom class. Now I've already made plans to go to a place where there's very good internet for that. So hopefully we can do that. And there we will be using a postcard to make a collage composition using some prompts that we will select during the session. And it will be a fun and casual take on my class from last year. So I hope you enjoy them.
Wonderful. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad you're joining us again this year, Marianne. Marianne's class last year was a whole lot of fun. If you were with us last year, you made little playing cards with word prompts, and she went through her entire process of picking images, putting them together, and I think everybody really enjoyed that class. So I'm really excited to have her back this year. Does anybody have any questions while Marianne is here about her upcoming classes?
Marianne, is there anything we can do in preparation for your class?
Yes, collect matchboxes.
Okay.
We'll be using a matchbox as our little story box because we're working small. So yeah, I've been playing around with them and they're quite fun. So collect some matchboxes. You can use bigger ones. Of course, you get these double-sided ones and you get different kind of ones. So have a variety so long that you can play with.
Great.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if everybody's familiar with the Edinburgh Collage Collective, but they do calls for art from time to time. And a couple of years ago, they did a call where it was called Strike a Light, and they used matchboxes and matchsticks, or they asked you to use those in your art, and just a whole lot of fun ideas. I'm really looking forward to Marianne's class because working with little teeny tiny images can really be, it can be a challenge, but it can also be really rewarding because it really draws the viewer in to see what you're doing because there's so much detail. Wonderful. Yes, ma'am. Lenny.
Marianne, well, or Kelly, when is the Marianne one?
I will be getting a full schedule out to everybody, but let me double check here. Story Boxes is pre-recorded. That'll be released on April 12th.
Okay.
And Marianne's Zoom will be Monday, April 17th. It'll be 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Because it's not quite the middle of the night for her. We're going to be real flexible with the Zooms, right? And you guys don't need to, you don't need to attend the Zoom classes live. We're hoping that because they're kind of all over the place, I made them when it was convenient for the instructor, not just for me, that some of them will work for your schedule. If not, the recordings will be posted, that same day on the website, and the pre-recorded classes will be released each day as well. So if you want to go, if you are a crazy person that wants to do a class every single weekday in April, it's set up so that you can do that. But remember, you can pace yourself. You can also, if you work during the week, you can binge watch on weekends. You can do it in whatever order you'd like. As the classes are released, you can go back and forth. You have access to all this content through the end of the year. So it's more fun if you're doing it when other people are, but I encourage you, if there are techniques that you're not familiar with and you don't have all the supplies, watch the video, see if it interests you, and then see, when you can get the supplies, go back and watch it again and do the projects or the technique. So it's set up to, I want it to be easy for you, and I want it to be not something that is just like a supply list a mile long. Most of the exercises in these classes can be done with some really simple supplies, and I'll go through that a little bit later today. But it's you don't need to go out and buy a lot of special things. That being said, let me tell you, welcome you first of all, but let me just tell you how Spring Fling came to be. This is our second year doing it. So last year it was like brand new to everybody. Nobody really knew what it was. I wasn't really sure how it was going to work or how it was going to turn out. The changes that have been made from last year to this year are really all based on feedback that I got from students and instructors. And so, every year try to make something a little bit better. But the original idea, I started Collage-Lab at the beginning of the pandemic. When we went into lockdown, I said, okay, Kelly, you've always wanted to teach online. Here's your opportunity, do it. And so I did. And so you know, we're still here. So that's a good thing, right? And Ira is still here. Ira has been here since the beginning. He's like one of my big fans, and we would not know each other if it weren't for Collage-Lab. So you know, you all are now part of the Collage-Lab family, and you know, you'll all be seeing Ira from time to time for sure. He's here at almost every monthly play date, and he will be here for Spring Fling. But anyhow, for Spring Fling, what I wanted to do was, you know, I'm one of those people that has a list of all these things I want to do. And one of the things I wanted to do, even before I started Collage-Lab, was to eventually have a mixed media collage retreat. You know, I was thinking in person. I was thinking how much so many of you would love to be in South Texas in the middle of winter. I was just thinking, you know, that would be pretty cool. And the thing about a retreat, even if it's only like 3 days, number one, you get away from everything else. You know, you're not at the office, you're not fixing dinner for the kids, you're not doing the laundry, you're away, and you're able to focus on, you know, number one, taking a bunch of classes, playing, making art, creating. And number two, you're able to, you know, meet a bunch of people that have similar interests, right? So I pictured getting a bunch of instructors here and having a little mixed media collage retreat, maybe at Port Aransas, which is a sweet little island here. I'm just north of Corpus Christi, on the Gulf Coast of Texas, and about a half hour from Corpus Christi, and about 15 minutes away from Port Aransas, which if you Google Port Aransas spring break, you will see the beaches, and you will see 10 bazillion college students on the beaches for spring break every year. But it's a lovely little touristy community. I'm in a nice touristy little town, but it's really a small town. But you know, invite you all here. We have classes during the day, and then, you know, we can go out to dinner as a group, or you can meet some new friends and go out to dinner, go shopping, you know, buy souvenirs, go to the beach, you know, have some fun, hang out, and you're away from it all for a few days. And so one of these days I'm still going to make that happen, but with things the way they, you know, the way they still were last year, I was like, let's do a virtual retreat. And you know, so part of that is to have that retreat feeling where you get a lot of different experiences. You get to kind of focus, and like I said, I understand people have jobs and other commitments, so it's not quite the getaway that a physical retreat is. But you don't have to buy a plane ticket, you don't have to pay for a hotel room. You know, it's a lot more doable for a lot of people to have this virtual retreat. And the other bonus, I think, is anybody that's taken, you know, one or more Collage-Lab classes with me. I'm a one-person business, you guys. I do it all. And so all of the classes you find at Collage-Lab, it's me all the time. Now, if you like me, that's great.
We like him.
but I want you, you know, I want you to experience, you know, things that number one might be outside of my realm. I can't teach you everything, and I'm not going to try to. There are certain techniques that I'm just not that good at, you know. And so the idea of bringing in other instructors just to give you a different point of view, give you different techniques, give you just, you know, different teaching style. One of the things I love about teaching on Zoom, we do like 6-week master classes. And so it's a group of people that's together for quite some time. And one of the things I love about that is I can, I can say, this is how we do it and this is why we do it. And I can explain something over and over again. And the next week when we're sharing our work, something that another student says or does will click with someone. And it's like, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about explaining it that way, or I hadn't thought about trying it that way, because I do it the way I've always done it. If it works, don't fix it. And so having input from other people, or having other people even just say what you're saying in different words, resonates with different people. People learn differently. And so, when I do a demo, it's different than when someone else does a demo. And so that's why Spring Fling was born. Number one, to give you maybe that little bit of sense of community. There are other people that, you're gathering together, learning a bunch of stuff about mixed media collage, and you're getting to experience a bunch of different teachers. I am going to just say a few people have given me feedback recently, that they've heard from people that attended last year who won't be back this year. And I love feedback. I really do. If you ever have comments or concerns or things you want me to be aware of, please email me at any time. And so I've heard from a few people that, their friends did Spring Fling last year and they didn't get through all the classes, even though they had through the end of the year. And so they felt like I needed to give them, a longer access time, lifetime access, things like that. I do lifetime access on a lot of the classes, like the Collage Alphabet, Collage Biz. Those are things that, you can come and go and go back to, 3 years from now, things like that. Number one, that takes a lot of space on a website, hosting and storage and things like that. That's number one. So it gets expensive. But the real reason that Spring Fling access is only through the end of the year is I pay all the instructors. I believe firmly that artists need to be paid. But I'm going to be the first to admit, because I'm a one-person business that, has only been around 3 years, I don't pay my instructors a lot of money, right? And so I have made the agreement with them from the beginning that they make these pre-recorded lessons. I have the rights to them for this set period of time. And it is my hope after December 31st that they can repurpose what they've done, that they can put it on their website or their YouTube channel, or they can sell it, or they can do whatever they want to with it. And so that is why, at the moment, I mean, everything's subject to change, but for this year, it's set up the same way, where you'll only have access through the end of the year. And that's because I want to respect the time and energy that goes into creating a class, and hopefully give these instructors an opportunity to repackage their content. So like I said, I understand, but it's also, 8-9 months is a long time to get through, 20 lessons. There are people that can, sit down for a weekend or two and binge watch all of them. They are full-length lessons. They're the pre-recorded classes are 45 minutes to an hour. So they're not just little, snippets. They're full projects, or, pretty in depth. And the Zooms will be hour and a half. We'll go 2 hours if we need to. You will definitely get something out of these. And so it's my desire that, that it is affordable for students to experience all of this, and that it is, that it makes sense financially for my instructors to put it all together. Okay, enough about the business stuff, right? while I've got some of the instructors here, and I've only got a couple, but while they are here, I do want to go ahead and have them talk a little bit about their classes. And then I'll just give you a rundown of all of the classes, just kind of my thoughts. I've started seeing some of the classes, some of the videos or snips of videos, things like that. So I kind of know what they're up to. So I'll give you that kind of rundown. And then I'm just going to go through like the basic supplies that you'll need. And well, yeah. And there will be, you know, like Marianne said, you'll need matchboxes. There will be detailed supplies for each lesson. This will all be inside Collage-Lab website, and you will get the official welcome email. I'm shooting for March 6th, which is 2 weeks from Monday, I think. So I'll be getting all the information from the instructors by the 1st. So I will have that all uploaded, send you a welcome email. And what you'll do is you'll log on to Collage-Lab, you'll go to access my classes, you'll click on Spring Fling, and there'll be a welcome, will be the top lesson. That'll have this replay and all sorts of general information about Spring Fling. The schedule, there'll be a downloadable schedule. You can print out the calendar if you want, you know, if you want to keep track of what you've done and what you haven't and when the Zooms are. And then there will be a separate lesson for each day, for each class. And so in addition to well, there'll be a welcome Zoom on April 1st. There'll be a mid-retreat happy hour on Zoom. We did that last year and it was a lot of fun. We'll play games. And last year, I think we did collage Mad Libs, and it was so much fun. So it'll be our little social time that we would have if we were, you know, down here at Port Aransas doing this, you know, in person. We'd go to the beach, we'd have a little social thing, we'd have a cookout on the beach or something. So we'll play some games, and then there'll be a final Zoom at the end of the month, April 30th, will be kind of a wrap party, and we'll celebrate, and we'll, you know, we'll talk about our favorite things and our, you know, what we want to go back to, maybe show some of the things we've created, things like that. So there are those 3 Zooms, and then there will be a new lesson every weekday throughout April. So there'll be 20 full classes. Some of them are Zoom, most of them are pre-recorded. And so for each of those lessons, you'll see the title of the class. They'll all be in order. And on each of them, there'll be a little bit about the class, if there are any special supplies you'll need, things like that. That's where you will go, you know, on Monday, April 3rd, that's where you'll go to see the first class. And but you can look ahead at all of them and say, oh, I'm kind of interested in, you know, the stitching class that Maureen is doing, and you can go look at that and you can see her supply list and anything else that she wants to share with you before you watch her video. So does that make sense? Okay, so that's the layout. Look for the welcome email March 6th or earlier, maybe, but March 6th for sure is what I'm shooting for. So while I do have some instructors here, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their class, let you ask questions if you've got questions. And MJ, you want to start?
Well, hi, everybody. Kelly, I just want to say right off the bat that I love hearing the history, and it's amazing that you just started this a Spring Fling just last year, and that you've done so much in the last 3 years to, you know, coordinate this whole system of people taking classes and events. And I only know the very tip of it, right? But what I know of what you've done is really so beautifully coordinated and inclusive, and easy to access and interact with. So, you know, I'm really thankful to be a part of your upcoming Spring Fling. My class is, yeah. My workshop class is Deities of the Week, or Deities of the Week, it's pronounced too. But anyway, I think it was really brave of Kelly to say yes to my thing, because you know, the word deity, or the idea of a deity, is like, that could be, you know, an angel, that could be a god, a goddess, it could be, you know, any of the, you know, representatives from traditional religions, or it could just be inner self, higher self, favorite icon. I treat it as a really broad idea, and yeah, just like Kelly said, yeah, sure, you know, do your thing. I thought was pretty great. So in the last, well, I'll backtrack, sorry. I've been an artist my whole life. My parents were really encouraging. My mom, you know, was a crafty housewife, and my dad was a carpenter who was a real kind of pack rat too. So we always had supplies from jobs. So our house had a lot of stuff in it outside that I could pull from and create with. So anyway, it started early, and I did all sorts of other medium growing up, and went to school for art and college, and I even have a master's in printmaking and book arts. So I really went with this art thing. And more recently, I mean, well, I started quite a while ago. I lived in, I came from the Midwest. I lived in Philly. I lived in New York City and Brooklyn, and then came out to the West Coast, San Francisco, and now am in Portland, Oregon. So back as an undergrad, I honed my skills so that once I was in Philadelphia and getting more information about printmaking and exploring mixed media more, I really got into teaching. And I did teach printmaking and paper making and book making. So it's always been kind of a mixed media, combined materials thing. And I'd say in the last 5 years, I've really refocused my attention on collage in particular, and teaching, especially after getting divorced as, you know, a middle-aged woman from a 20-year marriage. And I devoted everything to the children and their school life, and, you know, making art projects for their school. And, you know, so my sense of self and career just really funneled quite a bit. So it's broadening back out again. And that's where my excitement is sharing what I'm learning as I have re-entered this whole in-depth collage topic of exploration. So back to Deities of the Week, I will present a system for people. I have, in conjunction with my artwork, I've also been studying sacred geometry, or what is also called philosophical geometry, which I'm boiling down to for this workshop, the principles of golden means proportion. So I found that in my work, I would look at things, and things that were successful, felt good, got a response from other people, did seem to have a good balance to them. And I was working intuitively, but then when I learned more about golden means and setting up a picture to hold with those proportions, I saw that I could have a more solid artwork. And so that's really what I want to enable everybody to do, to have that framework, and then put your collage on that framework, so you have a really strong overall composition that any viewer, including yourself, will really vibe with, because we ourselves are comprised of that golden means proportion of, 60%, 40%. From our top of our head to our belly button is 40%. From our belly button down, we're 60%. And so those are the magic numbers, that 60 and 40 that we'll be working with. So just for example, a really quick grid. So it's kind of like the skeleton or the scaffolding that will then hold the different deities of the week. And I have them as of the week very specifically because I have put together a chart based on different books and readings and studies about, okay, why do we call the days of the week what we do? And oh, they correspond to planets. Each day of the week is represented by a certain planet. Oh, okay, well, what do those planets represent? Go to astrology, get information there. Oh, and they each have a color that is kind of their planetary day color. Okay. And then they have qualities that are with that as well. Okay, so it starts to get into this whole system of, you make a choice and you want to do Monday. Oh, you're going to have that and that and that and that you can all bring into the composition and then hang it on that framework. So I will give you a very quick example here of Friday. She was just finished and she is in my recorded workshop. I had done all 7 and I was just dissatisfied with my Friday deity and just really had to redo her. So this is her now. And just to give you an example of, the interpretation of deity is broad because, I don't see any halo here or any angel wings or anything like that. But for me, she does represent, something of an archetype or an inspiration. And just to give you a little peek in there, Venus is green and Friday, and the characteristics of beauty and pleasure and balance are part of her day. So that's my the fullness of the talk that I feel like I can give right now. It's probably a lot, as is. Yeah, and I will give handouts too, certainly. I have 3 or 4 handouts for people to really rely on and help shape their piece as they go. So back to you, Kelly.
Well, like I said, we really looking forward to your class, MJ, because it combines so many things. Compositionally, people will be learning. They'll be learning the mythological, astrological, a little bit of everything. And it's not preachy religion kind of thing, which is why I said, yeah, we can include this. This is not, this is art. This is, whatever you use as a student as inspiration or as an artist, will fit into this lesson, I think. So I'm real excited about it. Does anyone have any questions for MJ? Can't wait to get started, right?
Yeah, I will say that it's once you see the handouts, it really boils down to just a couple of simple variables. So I've front loaded and given you a lot condensed in like 2 minutes, but you'll have your time and you can ruminate and you can come and go and
if this were a semester long grad school art class, then you'd be reading all the books and gathering all of this information yourself. But MJ's giving it to you, and you're going to be able to you're going to be able to use all of this knowledge. And if there are things you want to dive deeper into, you know, any short class, there are going to be ways to go deeper.
Yeah.
Lenny's got a question. What you got?
I'm sorry, I probably misunderstood you. I thought that MJ was teaching the little boxes.
No, that was Marianne.
Marianne, oh, and MJ's doing the deities, which sound, I can't wait.
Good. Yay. We'll have fun.
Anybody else have any questions or need any clarification, or we're going to have a great time in your class, MJ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Thanks.
Really cool. All right, next up, I want to introduce Maureen. Maureen was a student in last year's Spring Fling and put forth a proposal, and she's going to be teaching stitching up your collage, which here's a perfect example of things that Kelly is not strong enough to teach. So bring in the experts. Welcome, Maureen. Tell us a little bit about what we're going to do.
Thank you, MJ. That sounds really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. It is from your intro to my intro is like from the sublime to the ridiculous, because my ideas are technique and feel and touch and less cerebral, although it's a tool that you can use. So I'm Maureen Lardy. I'm here in Northern California, right in the heart of Silicon Valley. Grew up in the Midwest, went to school in Virginia, taught in Kenya, East Africa, wound up here in Silicon Valley. So I don't know what to make of that. I don't have formal art training. Grew up in a household where that was not considered practical. So every art that I do, every exploration is a rebellion for me. I come from the traditional quilting world, and then I moved to the art quilting world, and now I'm in the all the things world. I'm exploring paper. I'm also a book artist, part of the Bay Area book artists group. So it was a natural for me to start putting textiles and paper together, and particularly for this class, stitch, threads on paper. And we feel very comfortable. We're getting comfortable using mixed media in our collage and blurring those lines. And so it was very easy for me to use one of my 7,000 needles and one of my 3,000 threads to embellish on a collage. So let me show you kind of what I'm talking about. There's so many ways to approach this. This is an old fibrillage piece. It's just a simple addition of some stitches. I don't know, here I go, there we go. This blue is a simple stitch. I just did it to highlight on this collage. And on the back, much like any embroidery that you do, or any embroidery that I do, I should say, it's a mess. It's a hot mess. There's, stuff going on back there that no one's going to see, especially since we tend to frame our picture, our collage works, something that embroidery doesn't always have the luxury of doing. And I enjoy abstract work as well. So here's an example of abstract work. This pattern is all stitched. The rest is just, what was on my table at the time. I've been experimenting with using sashiko stitches, which is a Japanese stitch often done on indigo with white thread. So that's a sashiko pattern. And I'll be teaching in this class. One thing I will touch on is how to transfer a pattern to your collage work to put the stitches in. There's a whole world of possibilities. You could do it on the front, you could do the pattern on the back, all kinds of things. So if there's some particular pattern you want to overlay, super, super easy to do. This back isn't as messy as the other one, but that's more of because the pattern itself wasn't so messy. I'm also going to include a handout, a 2-page handout that just has some very basic stitches in case you've forgotten from your, many of us have experimented at one time or another with embroidery or stitching or sewing cards when you're little, or home ec or something like that. But this is just a little reminder in case you've forgotten. I'm including the running stitch, back stitch, couching, which is where you lay a cord or a ribbon down and you stitch over it so it lays on top. Perfect for collage because you get a lot of texture with just a simple line.
Yeah.
And also the cross stitch, the famous cross stitch. And I'll talk a little bit about how to use those. Yeah, so that's generally, my course is going to be pre-recorded. I'm working on the videos now using Canva. I know from what Kelly has said that my class will be up on April 24th, which is the last Monday of our Spring Fling. So I'll be on tenterhooks and watching everybody else's and comparing and contrasting, but I'm looking forward to it. And there's a nice broad variety of classes. I really enjoyed Spring Fling last year. Was waiting for them to be posted. I mean, I was there when they came. I was very excited, and I'm sure I will be the same this year as well. And I hope you're looking forward to mine, or at least give it a gentle watch. Happy to answer questions. Yeah, back to you, Kelly.
Super. Well, thank you, Maureen. And like I said, there are certain things that are best left to people that really know what the heck they're doing. I can, pick up and thread a needle and, make a knot or something like
That's all
that.
it takes. That's all. I'm gonna make it easy.
but I want somebody that really knows what they're doing to teach people, right? Really looking forward to that because, quilting and collage, there are so many similarities when you look at beautiful quilts, beautiful quilt patterns, art quilts. There's so many similarities, and I love paper. I've always loved paper, but I also love texture. And so those opportunities that I take from time to time to add a little bit of fabric or a little bit of, it just heightens the experience sometimes. And so I think it's something that should be in every mixed media collage artist's toolbox. Does anybody have any questions for Maureen?
Yeah, so Maureen, sounds really fun. I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
You'll have a supplies list ahead of time, so we'll know. All right, that's my thing. That's what I have to catch up on.
Exactly. And there's nothing particularly fancy about anything. There's nothing you're going to have to Amazon order. If you have a piece of string or, floss or anything like that, maybe a fat needle maybe isn't in everybody's, but,
Okay.
I'll bet there's nothing particularly fancy about any of it.
Okay.
My
And
supplies is actually a cardboard box, so.
okay. And should we have some like pre-started collage too?
Yes, that will be number one on the supply list. It's basic or something you want to stitch on. Yes, and it can be blank paper if nothing is ready to go. But
Okay.
yeah, a collage that is on a substrate that you can sew through. You don't want to do a collage that's on a wood board or something that's going to be too hard to get a needle through or to pierce through. But
Okay.
I went to my box of stuff I'd done a couple years ago that it's like, okay, and you put some stitch on it and it's a whole new thing. So go to those unfinished pieces and pull
That's
some of those out.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Super. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, I'm going to do just a quick run through of all of the other classes. Where is my screen share? Okay, first up is me. because, you know, it's my thing, right? So I figured we'd work the kinks out of the Zoom Spring Flings by the first Zoom class being me. Those of you that know me, I've got a solo show that closes on Saturday, and there's a dozen collage works that are strictly black and white with one little pop of color in them. I love black and white so much. I love vintage imagery so much. And so to limit myself to that simplified color palette, working with just black and white, I'm so excited to share with you what we can do with that, because a lot of times we just think in color. And when you take color out of the equation, we can focus more on contrast and value and lines and shapes and all sorts of stuff. So I'm very excited about that. And you'll be seeing that one. That's our first Zoom. So start looking for black and white magazines, book images. Next up, Melissa Freestrom. Those of you that were here last year, Melissa, what exactly was it Melissa taught? Oh, Melissa taught us really about working intuitively, and she actually has a doctorate in, I should have given myself better notes. I had really good notes last year to introduce people. Melissa's full-time job is coaching corporate clients to fix problems in their organization that they might not even realize are problems, but like digging deep down and finding all this stuff. And so last year, Melissa taught us this really fabulous way to tap into our subconscious, not just working intuitively, like with whatever you pick up and blah, 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 but really tapping into our subconscious. This year, she's going to give us a kinesthetic approach to collage, which her best friend, who's also teaching, Leah Peterson, told her to call the class The Joy of the Mess, because Melissa is like me, one of those people that can't even walk past an open bottle of paint without getting it all over everything. Melissa immerses herself in all of her materials, and the kinesthetic approach is actually like about, oh, I've got paint on my arm and let me add that to this piece. We're going to have a lot of fun in this class, I think. Kind of that a return to that childlike abandon. Remember how you used to create in kindergarten when you do art projects and finger painting. I was just reading something, I think yesterday, about somebody that returned to their art practice with just finger painting. I think they were in rehab, and this is crazy, but they gave them access to paints, but they wouldn't give them any tools. So she returned to painting, with her fingers, and the connection you can make with that. But Melissa's going to tell us like all the scientific reasons that's important and that works and is helpful to us. So looking forward to that. Leah Peterson is back again this year. And those of you that have met Leah in some of the classes at Collage-Lab or that follow her on Instagram know that Leah has created a fantasy world called Gennevar. She created this a couple years ago, and as a project to send art out to her family members. And so she created a made-up land and a little map and started making postcards every month about the inhabitants of this land, the people that lived there, the plants that grow there, the kinds of animals. And she creates these postcards and tells a little story about each of the images. And so she's going to talk to us and show us how to combine collage and storytelling and maybe create our own fantasy world. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Darlene Sardinsky was one of our teachers last year. She's doing a couple classes for us this year. First one will be on Zoom, and it's going to be all about typography, which is a topic that I love. I love text. I love looking at letters and numbers and things as I'm cutting up magazines. I love looking at the letter forms, not necessarily what it spells, not necessarily what the word means, but the letter form as a collage element. And so we're going to get together on Zoom with Darlene, and it's called Typography. I Have No Words. So it's really about the typography and not words, paragraphs, or meaning, but about the shape. This, like I said, resonates with me. She's got an ampersand in the bottom left-hand corner. And for those of you in recent classes, I think I shared with you my obsession with every time I'm at a yard sale and there's some sort of three-dimensional ampersand, it's like it goes home with me. I don't know what I'm doing with these things yet, but they're all, gathering on the shelves. So that is Darlene, typography. Here's MJ's class. That will be on Friday, April 7th. That's pre-recorded. And I think she described it way better than I could. So we're looking forward to that. Liz McKenty is back with us again this year. And, I get 2 questions from people that are really starting to get into collage. The number 1 question, which I will answer later when I'm talking about supplies, is what glue do you use? That is the number 1 collage question everywhere. The number 2 question is always, where do you get your materials? And Liz is going to give us some fabulous ideas to start your stash, whether you are into vintage ephemera or whether you are into hand painted papers and other ways of reusing things. She's going to give us some great ideas with that class. That one is on April 10th, which is my birthday. Then we have, oh, you guys are going to love this. Tatiana Almond has over 11,000 Instagram followers. She is a collage artist. She's the one I mentioned is in Georgia, the country, not the state. And she may actually be traveling when we get together with her. But she has over 11,000 Instagram followers, and that is without any paid promotion or anything like that. She just is going to show us what works on Instagram to engage with audiences, what kind of content to post. So if you are, there's the first step of sharing your art on social media is just getting over the fear of sharing your art on social media. The second step is, how do you get the algorithm to work for you? How do you get anybody to see it? How do you get followers? How do you show up in their feeds? And so Tatiana is going to tell us all the secrets of that in a pre-recorded class called From Paper Cutouts to Instagram Fame. So I think we'll all benefit from that. Story boxes. This is the class that Marianne talked about with us. This one is working with small images in your little matchboxes. Then I will be doing a class on mini abstracts. A lot of people have a hard time kind of wrapping their head around working abstractly. I will give you lots of tips, and we'll be working really small, so it's really easy. This class, we will also be using the tack iron method. Don't go out and buy a tack iron. If you have an iron at home, that will work. But it's a method where we coat our papers with gloss medium, and we arrange our collage, and we basically melt it together so it becomes permanently affixed. One of the benefits to using that method is you eliminate wrinkles in your paper, because you're not waiting for that wet medium or wet glue adhesive to dry, and that's what causes papers to wrinkle. And so it works really well for eliminating wrinkles. Second of all, it's really great for very delicate papers because it gives them extra strength. I have a 1940 something newspaper. I got the entire year flat bound of a daily paper here in Texas, and the paper is, so brittle that you could look at it and it crumbles, right? If I coat it with the gloss medium for this technique, it becomes like you can snap it like saran wrap, and it won't fall apart. So really great for those very delicate papers. And I think it's a fun technique when you're working abstractly, because it's very easy to arrange your pieces, and then you don't have to remember where they were as you lift them up to glue them down. You arrange them, you iron them, it's done. So that's really a fun technique. Leah Peterson's going to do a fun Zoom for us this year called Rules Meant to Be Broken. And I think this is something that resonates with all of us in one way or another when we're creating. We make up little rules for ourselves, and sometimes it's just to get the juices flowing. We'll walk into the studio without any ideas, and we'll say, okay, I'm going to make a small collage using only the things that are, only the scraps that are sitting on my desk right this minute. Well, there's a rule. It came out of nowhere, but it's a rule. And so Leah's going to talk to us and give us, we'll play around with some of these rules, and some of them are helpful, and some of them, some of them might be that sticking point where you're thinking to yourself, but I have to do one more of these in the corner, because isn't that a rule? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about like the real rules, that they teach in art school, the rule of thirds and things like that as well, and when we can break those. Marianne's Zoom will be prompted postcards, and she told you about that as well. I'm going to do a lesson on image transfers. There are a bazillion image transfer techniques. Some are more successful than others. Some are, I shied away from teaching anything about image transfers for several years in person. And then I was like, okay, well, I could do this if it's recorded, because then I can do another take if it doesn't work. My success level with image transfers, well, let's say it's definitely not 100%, but it's getting better. And so I'm going to share some tips and some different image transfer techniques to get you different kinds of effects. If you've tried, if you've tried to do image transfers with the jelly plate and you're just never happy with it, well, guess what? There are 50 other different ways we can do image transfers. So I'm gonna show you all of those, and we can even rate the percentage of success for each of the different techniques. Tatiana, who I just told you is, got 11,000 followers on Instagram, is also an amazing organizer and has put together a lot of community collage events. And some of you are lucky enough to live in communities that have an active collage group, have, regular meetups, things like that. And I know some of you are, probably out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know a single collage artist, anywhere around you. And of course, nowadays there's Zoom, so you can still get together with people. But Tatiana's going to give us some tips for putting together collage events, how to, I mean, from the basics of how to promote your events to, how do you come up with all the supplies, or do you have people bring their own stuff? What kinds of activities do people like? Things like that. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Jen Blaylock is new to the instructing team this year. She is going to give us a lesson on dreamy landscapes. And, some of us, are like always sneaking in little compositional lessons, without you really knowing it. So we're going to talk about how to make unity and depth within your collage as you create these dreamy landscapes. And that's something people I know, in classes and play dates and things like that, people ask a lot, how do you get that depth? How do you make that background really, fade into the background so that your focal images are coming forward? So Jen Blaylock is going to do that for us. We've got another Jen Dykeman has joined the staff this year, and she's going to be teaching us about soul symbols and looking inside of our senses and symbolism, symmetry, and things that might be considered sacred, not necessarily we're not talking secular, but things that we elevate. And actually I think this class will be a good pairing with MJ's deities. I think you'll get a lot out of that as well. And then we've got Maureen's Stitch Up Your Collage. So we'll all be adding stitches and thread to our pieces. This is another one I get a lot of questions. People want to know how to get seen on social media. And for a while there, it seemed like the only way you're going to get seen on Instagram is if it was a reel, short movie. And TikTok, if anybody wants, to explore probably a very different demographic than Instagram or Facebook, if you're, posting your artwork. Kat Freestrom is going to show us how to make reels. And it's not just, make a 30-second video. She's going to show us how to make the reels that get shared, that go viral, that, get some traction. And she's an actual teenager, so she knows what she's talking about. So that should be a lot of fun as well. Darlene I actually just watched the video of this morning. This is going to be a really fun class. Darlene Sardinsky is going to show us how to make a book for putting your daily collages or any of your collectibles, the simplest of bookmaking techniques. And for those of you that are wondering about supplies, you need to save a box of pancake mix next time, you know, instead of throwing it in the recycle bin, or any box, any packaging like that. And yarn is good as well. So yarn and, you know, boxes, cereal boxes, rice-a-roni, stovetop stuffing, whatever you have around your house going in the recycle bin. And last, but oh, this isn't last but not least, never mind. Second to last, Melissa Freestrom is going to do a Zoom with us. And for those of you that have been following me, you know, first of all, not only do I do everything at Collage-Lab, but I'm also a working artist and continue to explore in my own practice. And a couple of years ago, I took a class with another collage teacher that was putting hot wax or encaustic wax over collage. And I was like, oh, I really like how that looks. Tell me more. So I took a, you know, basic encaustic over collage kind of class, really liked the effects, and happened upon, well, actually this instructor was part of an art center in Ireland during the pandemic, put together a year-long encaustic class with 26 encaustic artists from around the world, doing 52 weekly classes. And I was like, well, you know, that's probably way above my interest. I just want to put a little wax on my collage, but it was very intriguing. And so I thought, okay, I'll take this. Out of 52 lessons, I'll be happy if I get 4, you know, techniques. I'm not going to be painting landscapes with encaustic wax or portraits or anything like that, but I'll go ahead and sign up. I have to tell you guys, and this is also a reminder when you look at the list of classes for Spring Fling, sometimes even if you are not interested in the topic or the medium or the materials or anything like that, take the class anyhow. You might be introduced to your brand new favorite art supply. You might be introduced to a technique that is going to make your way of doing art so much easier. There are just, there's something of value, I think, that you can get from taking any art class. So I took this 52-week class. Every single week, I got something that I could use. And I've expanded the possibilities of my collage and encaustic work like exponentially. Anyhow, so this is, you know, that was my journey. Well, obviously it parallels, you know, where Collage-Lab goes. And so last year in Spring Fling, one of our instructors did a little beginner texture with encaustic wax class. Tippy Polo, for those of you that were here last year, did a class called Wax On, Wax Off. And also in the collage alphabet, because I was just learning and falling in love with encaustic, I made E of the collage alphabet be E is for encaustic, which is just a real, you know, short intro to the very basics of putting hot wax on your collage. Well, Melissa Freestrom has taken every master class I've offered for the last, she wasn't here right at the beginning, but for at least the last 2.5 years. And as soon as she did E is for encaustic and did Tippy's class on encaustic and Spring Fling last year, she fell down the rabbit hole, probably more so than me. She like really found her medium. And so she's going to share some of the things that she loves about working with encaustic wax. It'll be a question and answer demo kind of forum live on Zoom at the end of April. So if you're the least bit curious, tune in for that one. And last but not least, another technique that, I don't use all the time, but I like the effect, is using epoxy resin over collage. There are times that it can take the simplest of paper collages, and that layer of encaustic or epoxy resin, which, for those of you that don't know what that is, it's like what they do bar tops with, and it's that real thick, clear, hard kind of surface. It's a two-part epoxy that you mix and then you pour over your collage in this case. And so we're going to do the real simple thing. We're going to do our resin collage in a box, a cigar box. This picture in the little example is actually the back of a wood panel, a cradled wood panel. So we're going to do it in some sort of box. Any box will do, because what we don't have to worry about with a box is how to finish the edges, how to keep the resin from running all over the place and making a huge mess. So in a box is really the easiest way to start. So that is our lineup for 2023. And do you guys have questions about those things? I feel like I just talked.
I want
Ira?
to know how to join you.
You want to know what?
I want to know how you got a teenager on your staff.
Well, one of the things that I always tell people when they have, I'll help anybody out. You take a class from me and I am at your disposal. Email me when you've got questions about anything. Oh my gosh, I just got into a show. What do I do? Oh my gosh, this gallery wants to look at my work. What do I do? Whatever. And I get a lot of questions about, renaming computer files, or making it a certain size, or this or that. So I'll talk people through that kind of stuff, but then it starts getting more complicated, on the technical aspects. And I'm always like, if you have a teenager in your life, if your neighbor, your kid, your grandkid, the kid down the street, ask them, because they will be able to show you. They've grown up with this stuff. They know how to do it. So Kat Freestrom is actually Melissa Freestrom's daughter, and she when Melissa takes classes from me, sometimes she will share the lessons with her daughter, and they'll do some of the projects together. Leah Peterson does that with her daughter as well. And so they're the ones that came to me and said, hey, you probably need a teenager to show people how to do these reels. And I said, yeah, I probably do, because TikTok, it's like I logged onto it once and I'm like,
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. Other questions, comments, things that sound exciting?
I earmarked, just about every one, like with a star, like, look at that. Oh, that. Oh, that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Having you describe them really helped me, because, otherwise I was going from the list and I didn't do the
Right.
deep dive on each profile yet. But now I have this, quicker shorthand to say, and what you encourage too, just come, just show up. Yeah. So I'm
Yes.
excited.
We've got a program at the local art center. My small town was an art colony, and
Oh.
now has just become a tourist trap. So we still have some of the original artists that were around back in 50s, 60s, and 70s, and lots of galleries, things like that. So one of the older, more established artists has given an ongoing grant to our local art center in honor of another artist that passed. And it is a visiting lecturer fund. And so the program brings in artists from outside of our area, and in general, brings in artists that teach things that, that there aren't a lot of encaustic teachers here in Rockport, Texas. So they would bring in an encaustic teacher. And so they bring in a variety of artists that we wouldn't have access to, in our local pool of teaching artists. And the program is free for members of the art center. You pay for supplies. So it's, usually it's like $40 for a full day or 2-day workshop with all the supplies included. And it's a members only perk. And it sells out, limited space always. And so for the past 5, 6, 7 years, every single one of those I sign up for, whether I have any skills or any desire. The guy that was doing photorealistic portraits in graphite, I signed up. I don't draw, but you do get skills just by being exposed to the way other artists approach their media. So, I do encourage you, if there's a great deal on something and it's not really your thing, try it. A lot of times, even on the internet, a lot of times you'll find, hey, join me for my free 5-day blah, blah.
Yeah.
Do it. What have you got to lose, especially if you can speed through the videos. So that's my take on it. And that's honestly, it's why I encourage people, to really go ahead and watch all of the Spring Fling. And just a little note to all of you, every video that I post on the Collage-Lab website, there is a little gear down in the bottom right-hand corner, like you find on YouTube, and you can watch it at 2 times normal speed. And I, if you can't understand what they're saying at 2 times normal speed, I'll do, 1.5 times or 1.75 times. Do it, speed through, as long as you can understand what is being said and they're just talking fast, speed through it. If you miss some information and it's of interest to you, you can back up and you can watch it at regular speed. But that's how I watch everything on YouTube these days. Everything. And also it's how I watch my own videos when I'm editing, because I figure if I can understand the words at 1.75%, then obviously I'm saying them clearly enough at regular speed. So just a little tip. Anyone else have comments, questions? What are you looking forward to most?
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
Kelly, I have a comment. I really enjoyed Spring Fling last year. I was new to Collage-Lab, pretty new, and at the beginning, the very first lesson was Leah Peterson's. She had a downloadable printout of each day and a place for notes, because Leah is the most organized, note-taking person you'd ever want to meet and aspire to be like. And I noticed it wasn't something like that was not on the calendar this week. So I'm going to this time around, but I'm planning on doing that myself and basically setting up some kind of notebook system already marked out, ready to go for my notes, so that I don't have a post-it note with lesson 1 and something with lesson 3. Because that's how I operate. I'm not going to show you any of my studio because you're just going to see all the notes and stuff like that. But for me, that was a very concrete lesson in, basically all my Spring Fling notes are going to be in one place. I'm going to staple something together and be ready to go on the day. So
it was a great lesson, and let me give you all, if you weren't here last year, I'll give you the background. Leah Peterson's real job is in instructional development. And so she is like this person that makes sure that all of the professors at Boston College, I think is where she works, or maybe Boston University, but making sure all the professors, have their ducks in a row and everything is, organized and uploaded and ready to go. And that's also how her mind works when she's off the clock. And so I asked her last year to put that class together. And I will be actually giving you guys a downloadable little booklet to print out and take notes. And the lesson that Leah shared with us is something I think we can all relate to. And I'll give you an example. I took a 2-day workshop in resin about 4 years ago, and just kind of, went and played, and, they weren't really talking about over collage, but I was like, oh, okay, let's see how this works with collage, and just made some, sample pieces. I wasn't out there to make a, masterpiece. I was out there to say, how does this work on this kind of paper? How does this work if you layer this and this? And okay, I learned that skill. I didn't go to apply it until, a year or 2 later, but I was like, oh yeah, I took that class. I can do resin. And I had an idea and I put together some collages, and I was on a deadline for a show, and I was doing 6 of these, and I mixed up my resin and I poured my resin, and I went to do second layer of collage and do more resin. And I basically forgot one step and ended up ruining them all and not making, they didn't make it into the show that I was on deadline for. So part of Leah's lesson was, how to organize taking notes when you learn something, whether it's in a class or watching a YouTube video or, going through a book, how to organize that so that you can return to that lesson. Years ago, I was designing t-shirts for print on demand a lot and taking all sorts of classes. And one of the classes were like 7 video lessons, and one of the, and it's lifetime access. I can, I could go look it up today. One of the lessons was like the best explanation I ever heard for filling a shape, with an image, that thing. We can probably do it for free on Canva now, but in the old days, you'd take that shape of a heart and, fill it with an image and have, no background. And so I know where I learned that. I learned that in Catherine and Isaac's t-shirt design class. Every single time I go to look for it, because I don't do it often enough, I need a refresher. Every time I go to look for it, I have to go speed through the video looking for that one thing. So if I had organized notes, either, it's in video number 3 at the 23-minute mark, or if I had really organized notes that said, this is how you do it, dummy, it would be a lot easier. And so that's what Leah set us up to do last year was, you learn something about, the golden mean, and you are looking at the titles from Spring Fling and you can't remember what class you learned it in. So do you have to go back and watch them all again? Do you have to look through all of your notes again? Or, can you have that highlighted when you're watching MJ's class? Ooh, good information. Go back to this. So I will give you guys a little thing. You can print it out. You can fold it like a booklet. You can take notes. You can say, I want to watch this again. I want to get the supplies and actually do this project. Here's one tip that I got out of this. So that'll all be available when you get the welcome email on March 6th. So you don't have to figure it out yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that does also bring up one other point I want you guys to keep in mind as you go through these things, or as you take any classes with me, Collage Alphabet or any of them. My philosophy in any kind of art class is you're learning. You are even the things I call master classes. I think of them as master classes because they're more intense. We're doing more, we're learning more, we're practicing more. But the expectation is never that at the end of the day, you've created that masterpiece. At the end of the day, you've learned all of the techniques and you can perfect them, and it's going to help you down the road create that masterpiece. And every once in a while, we surprise ourselves and a class project turns out to be that masterpiece. But don't go in with that expectation. Go in with an experimental, I'm going to learn, even if it's I'm going to learn what doesn't work, so if Kelly tells me to use this kind of glue, I'm going to try something else and see if it doesn't work, if it ruins everything. Go for it, experiment. Most of it's only paper, right?
Yeah.
So,
I just want to say really quick, thank you for the opportunity to give an introduction. And again, I'm looking forward to everybody's classes. I have a friend who's visiting out of town, so I have to peel out.
I don't blame you. I've been talking a long time here, MJ.
No, I've enjoyed it. I just have to go.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I wish more of the instructors could have made it, but schedules are really, really hard to get everybody together. But thank you for being here. We're looking forward to the
Glad
class.
to. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions, comments? All right. What I am going to do, and feel free to drop off if this is repetitious. The way, well, like I said, last year was the first year we did Spring Fling, and one of the instructors gave a suggestion that we do a play date before Spring Fling for people that, don't collage, don't know anything about it, show them the basics. People that haven't collaged in a while, just, reintroduce them and, encourage them to go ahead and do this. And I thought, okay, we'll do that. And we'll also, do a little meet the instructors. And that will be our little play date this month. One of the most popular things that we do on play dates is when I do just like about the art supplies. And I will do all about adhesives, a play date at least once a year, where I pull out every single adhesive known to man and I tell you, what works and what doesn't, and make you understand if you even want to try it, because a lot of people just start with glue sticks and they're happy with them, or they become unhappy with them, and then they're like, oh, what is this matte medium everybody's talking about? So that's generally what I'm going to do real quick here is just show you some basic supplies, some basic stuff. And these are generally the basic supplies to get through most of the month of Spring Fling. Other stuff, like I said, see you, Maureen. Thanks for coming. Other stuff, like I said, you know, if you watch a video and you like the technique, then you might want to go out and get the things on the supply list. I'm also a big fan of, you know, use what you have, substitute whatever you can substitute. You don't, you know, if this is my favorite glue stick, you don't have to go out and buy it unless you're not happy with your favorite glue stick, you know, use what you've got. So does anybody have any questions? If you do, feel free to shout out. I'm going to go over here to my table and I'm just going to go through real basic supplies that we'll be using throughout most of the lessons in Spring Fling. And thank you for coming today. The replay of this will be available when I send out that welcome email. And if you have any questions, email is always the best way to get a hold of me, mycollagelab@gmail.com. Feel free to leave if you don't need a refresher or an instructor. It's really just very basic supplies. So basics. I recommend everybody has some kind of a sketchbook to work in. I like the mixed media sketchbook. This is 98-pound paper. And so it is, you know, fairly heavy duty. It'll take quite a bit of abuse if you're working, you know, sketching out ideas. I generally work on 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. You can get it in a variety of sizes. This is heavy duty and takes a lot of abuse. So if you are using, you know, a lot of paint or inks or other wet media, that 140-pound watercolor paper will take a lot of abuse. The basics, of course, are, you know, a glue stick. My favorite glue stick, and they're harder to find these days, is Elmer's Extreme. Oohoo, I just used the last of, I think my last tube of it, but it's a yellow permanent glue stick. The color of the package is yellow. It's UHU, Oohoo. I like that a lot too. I'll be reordering some of those. And the Scotch permanent glue stick is not bad at all either. So whatever glue stick you are comfortable with, go for it. And then of course there's, you know, medium, because glue stick isn't going to work for everything. Glue stick isn't going to work for sometimes heavier papers, cardboard, things like that. That's when we get into the mediums, and you'll hear people talk about matte medium or gloss medium. What the heck are mediums? Mediums are actually created to work with acrylic paint, and you would mix your acrylic paint with different kinds of mediums to get different kinds of effects. And these are just two examples. Matte medium, a lot of people really like. It is a liquid. There is also one called fluid matte medium, which is even thinner. I think it's too thin, but I'm you know, and gloss medium. The only difference really between the matte medium and the gloss medium is the finish. So flat matte finish, shiny glossy finish. Those are liquid mediums. And the thing about the liquid mediums, unlike our glue stick, is our liquid mediums can actually also go over our collage papers. So let me show you. I'm going to show you some of my other favorite supplies. Coffee filters. Some artists and teachers will use an old junk mail catalog as a gluing surface. I've decided that coffee filters are, super cheap and super plentiful, and you can always have some with you. And so you can glue anywhere you go. It's a great little surface to not get glue all over everything. So I've got my glue stick, I've got my coffee filter, and the real trick to glue sticks is getting it all over what you're gluing. Go over the edges, cover the entire back of your paper, your image, and go over the edges. I was watching some like preschool art classes or whatever, and the instructor, glue this down and smooth it out. And the instructor, the preschool teacher or whatever, was like, oh, she had a little saying, but it was like, oh, dot, dot, not a lot. That's how she had the kids use glue sticks. So dot, dot, not a lot. And I'm like, use glue stick, use as much as you possibly can. And that's where my other favorite non-art supply comes in, baby wipes. So with the glue stick, as you mush down your image onto your paper, you may be mushing out a little bit of glue. So your baby wipe is a handy way to clean that up. It's a handy way to get the glue stick off of your fingers after you've accumulated a lot. Do test your papers before you baby wipe them. But I always have baby wipes around. So that's how we apply with a glue stick. With the medium, we're going to apply this usually with a brush. It's liquid, and we'll go ahead and let me find my brush I pulled out. I buy super cheap brushes like at Walmart. These are by Plaid, because I don't treat my glue brushes real well. And also, like when I'm demoing, I'll have this in the medium, and then I'll go to show you something else, and I won't actually, wash the brush out. So medium, again, you want to be, pretty generous. You want to go over the edges. You want to cover the entire image with the medium and glue it down. Smooth it from the center out if it's large. And again, you could clean up with your baby wipe. The other thing we can do with the medium that we can't do with the glue stick is this also can serve as a sealant or a protective coat. So mediums, whether they are liquid mediums or gel mediums, this is soft gel matte. Golden's got a bazillion formulas, from extra heavy to soft, regular gel. Any of those will work. They all work basically the same, just a little bit different consistency. All of your mediums are designed to work with acrylic paint. They will work as an adhesive, and they will work as a finishing layer. And the thing is, because this is designed to work with acrylic paint, once this dries, I can put more paint and ink and things over it. So, that's one of the benefits to working with your mediums. Baby wipes, again, come in handy when it's time to clean the old brushes. First thing I do with a glue brush is to take that baby wipe and I get as much off as possible, just pulling it through the baby wipe. And then I actually just took my water outside this morning to dump it and didn't bring it back in. I have a screen in the bottom of my water bucket for brushes that I can actually scrub this brush on to clean it, a little bit of soapy water. So that's cleaning brushes. And one other kind of glue I will introduce you to is called Yes Paste. A lot of people really like this as well. This is not a medium. This is a paste. It's called a stick flat glue. And so a lot of people like it because you don't get as many wrinkles. I cannot get it open. So I'm not going to demo it, but it's stuck and I'm weak today. But basically, if I were to open this, you would see Yes Paste is very much like a glue stick in a bin. I will use something like a hotel key card to apply the Yes Paste and just kind of put it on like you would use a trowel or something like that. Apply it evenly to the back of your papers. Press them down. Use your baby wipe to clean up your edges. Yes Paste, because it's like the glue stick, we don't want it over the surface of our imagery. So mediums go under or over. Yes Paste, things like that, and glue sticks are just for gluing, just the adhesive part. Other things you will need. This is a personal preference for most people, scissors or blade, right? So there may be occasions where you need both things. Scissors, very personal choice. I have, 100 pairs of scissors within reach, some better than others. I always tell people my favorite scissors are the ones that I can grab when I'm looking for scissors. This is my favorite blade. This is by a company called Olfa, O-L-F-A. But you can use X-Acto knives, anything like that. The big tip with using any kind of a blade is sharp. You want it sharp. You're not going to get accurate cuts if your blade is dull. And so change your blade way more often than you think. If you're going to use a blade, you also want some kind of a self-healing mat to put under it so you are not damaging your work surface. This is another version of a blade. This one's by Fiskars. This is a fingertip blade. And so I just put my finger through there. I like this better than your standard blade. I'm more of a scissors girl, but when I do need to cut out, little circles inside of something or little shapes, I like the control I get from this fingertip blade. So if you struggle with a blade like this, you might want to try the fingertip blade. But those are all personal preference. And then there's always, if you don't have scissors, there's always the option to just, tear your papers. That should always be an option as well. And then, throughout the month together, this is mixed media collage. So it's not just glue and scissors. We'll be adding, some mixed media. A few of my favorites, the Woody's 3-in-1 Stabilo. This is a water-soluble crayon pencil kind of thing. So I can scribble with it, but if I add water to it, either by brushing it on, find the brush. So this will act like watercolor if I add water to it because it's water soluble. Or I can take this and actually dip it in the water before I write. And that's going to give me, a softer line. I'm also still going to be able to smear that. If you use water-soluble media like this, you will probably already be familiar with workable fixative. I don't have a can out right now. I've misplaced mine, but it will, any kind of our anything that smears, whether it's pastels or chalk or graphite or your water soluble crayons, pencils, things like that, you'll want to use some kind of fixative, and Krylon makes a workable fixative that works really well. This is willow charcoal. This is, great, but if you don't use fixative, it's going to smear. So this is water soluble graphite. We can have fun with that. We can smear it if we want to, or we can use the workable fixative. Posca pens. These are fun. These are not water soluble. These are acrylic paint pens, and they come in a variety of fun colors and different size tips. You do need to shake them up when you first get them, and you need to press down on the tip until the paint starts flowing. But these give you some really beautiful acrylic paint lines. Very, very easy to manage. I also like the Uniball Signo pens. This is my favorite white pen in the world. I've tried all the other white pens and I don't have a lot of success with them. Let me find something that is not white. Post-it note. So this is, it's a pretty nice white pen. They come in different thicknesses as well. And I'm not sure what this one is because it's in Japanese. But Uniball Signo is my favorite white pen. I also have it in gold and silver and things like that. So those are just a few of my favorites when it comes to mark making supplies. And then the next question people ask a lot is, I made this collage. How do I finish it? How do I make sure, nothing happens to it? We want to protect the surface. There are a variety of varnishes that you can use. Golden and Liquitex both have different kinds of varnishes that provide UV protection. You could frame this and keep the dust and the UV off of it. The sun and the dust are the biggest enemies to our paper collages. Krylon makes Kamar varnish, which is a spray-on. I like this. They also have a matte finish and a crystal clear coat. And then there's one other thing that offers the protection against the dust, not so much the UV, but it's Dorland's cold wax medium. And this has nothing to do with hot and caustic wax that I was talking about. This is a cold wax. It's a protectant. And what you would do with it is just take a paper towel, put a little bit on your finger, and then you just kind of rub it in, wax on, wax off. You're not going to see much of it, but it is going onto those papers and going to protect them a little bit. So that's cold wax medium. I think that's all I pulled out today to show you real basic stuff, and don't run out and buy anything special. A sketchbook, some sort of adhesive, and something to cut with are the real basics. And then of course, collage papers. Anybody have any questions about supplies or about anything else? Thanks for sticking with me, you three.
I'm just about to head into my cello lesson, but thank you so much for all the information, and I'm super excited.
Well, I'm so glad you're joining us, Leanne, and thank you for being with us here today. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thank you.
Carol, Amelia, you guys have any questions?
Yeah, so the golden medium couldn't do the same out of the cold wax to seal and protect?
The medium can seal and protect, yes, but it's liquid.
Okay.
And so sometimes when you're putting a top coat on with the medium, especially like if you use magazine papers, you'll get the wrinkles and the bubbles. You won't get that with the cold wax. It's just, it's like furniture polish. It's just a wax protectant.
Okay. I got a lot of problems with my allergies, asthma, and so on, and also I'm very environmentally conscious. So I need to use stuff that doesn't smell strong. Even some of my acrylic paints, when I open them, I feel bad. So,
Yeah, I get you. And if you're not affected by some of these things, you don't even notice them, and other people are like, oh my gosh. You will, I think in the box to book class that Darlene's doing, she's actually using Mod Podge, which I know a lot of people say smells really bad to them. I've never noticed it, but you might want to stay away from the Mod Podge and go with probably just any medium would be fine. It's just a protective layer for these books.
okay. And
Okay.
this cold wax, I don't know if you know this collage artist from England, Jack Ravi, who's on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they do, I don't even know if it's a she or a he, but they do, because I don't see the face, I just see the hands. But they do this things on wood and then applies the cold wax.
He's
Does
been
it with
using hot wax. He's been using the hot wax that's encaustic. That's
okay.
just clear, hot encaustic wax.
Oh, because I thought that somebody asked and he or she said it was cold wax. So it was wrong.
No, not if it's the recent videos of his that I've seen.
All the fabulous stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, and it's just it's a very simple, like 4 swipes with a brush, and that's just clear encaustic medium, or it could just be pure beeswax. That's something people use as well. Melted beeswax.
Okay, interesting. I'd like to try something like that. Okay, good.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Carol, you got any questions?
No, I don't think so. I'm just kind of excited for everything. There's some I'm going to watch, but I'm not that into, like the internet stuff.
Yeah.
The other stuff I'm really excited about.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you all and to, seeing what you create with us in Spring Fling. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And, like any good retreat, if you've got any friends that you want to talk into, taking it with you, how much fun to share with a friend as well, right?
Very true.
If I had any friends who spoke English, I would. I don't.
I understand. I had a student right at the beginning, Amelia, from Quebec, and she used Collage-Alphabet as an art lesson and an English lesson, and would probably have to rewatch my videos several times. But yeah.
Yeah, well.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait.
Thanks for signing up for Spring Fling. I'm really looking forward to it. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
All right, I'll let you go. Thank you. Have a great rest of your week.
You too.
You too. Bye.